match. What a phenomenal series. Great to hear it about it from Patrick Price there. But I'll tell you what, on the other end of this, that was, we were talking about MVP performances today. Scraps had one hell of a performance. I know they come up a little bit short, but 15 in that Game 5. Chance, how good was he over the course of that series, man?
Well, I mean, just the Game 5 kind of sums it up, right? But even like the Hardpoint before that, I think he dropped like 42 kills. Like, Scraps has been fantastic, like through and through. He's one of the upper players, I would certainly say, for the division. Whether or not he's one of the best, I still think a lot to prove. Like, you got to close out, right? Like, the best players will hit that shot in that Game 5. They will help go through. But ridiculous clutch potential, very good in respawns. He switched from the AR to the sub, and he looks good at either. Yeah, Scraps has absolutely been a monster.
That's going to haunt him. You know, he got 15 great kills, but all he's going to think about is that one snipe. But this one was obviously a 5-game series, and it began with a close one here in Game 1 on St. Marie. And I could say, prior to the series, Nameless was coming up and saying, Jack, how do I convince my team to ban out St. Marie versus Unilad? We do not want to face Unilad on St. Marie Hardpoint, and it looks like his thought process was the correct one with the outcome of this game.
Certainly. I mean, I don't know if you want to play Unilad on Hardpoint right now with how they looked over the course of this series, but they take a very, very tight one back and forth, ends up ending here in Winery. And we were talking about it, Chance, like, you get that final tick kind of at 0 seconds. We thought it might go to the next Hardpoint. EG actually had the rotation to parking lot, but look at this. It'll hit 0, and you get one more tick after that, and that's all they needed.
Literally the way it came down, if Aches either A, wins that gunfire, or B, just lays down and contests for another half second, then you see EG had that rotation completely on lock, and they could probably win that game. But I think an important takeaway is I think both teams have quite a bit of wiggle room to kind of get better on St. Marie, which is weird to say about Unilad because they've had some dominant performances, but that game got close and ended at like the second hill towards the end. But normally that game, when you're close like the 250-250 score line, it goes all the way down to that parking lot hill. So they're 2 hills away, and that means that there's a lot of contest time that's not coming in. There's a lot of nades where you're not getting people out of the hills. And then you saw in the box score, Restaurant went pretty well in EG's favor, but the rest of them not so much.
Yeah, it was a lookout post. It was like 91-4 or something like that in the favor of Unilad. But let's take a look then at the search and destroy. This is one where Unilad goes up 3-0 early, but EG start to slowly battle back in this one, Jack.
Yeah, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to cruise on through. We've already seen Unilad play this once today, but obviously, yes, EG, they find their composure. They begin to bring it back just a little bit. For me, what I'm happy to see from this Unilad team is they're figuring out, you know, what does and doesn't work for them on this map. And I think it's, again, part of that process of getting so much time playing here in the LAN League. I mean, I can only imagine that these guys have played this probably their 5th or 6th time playing this already in the league itself with how often this map comes up. So they get a lot of good practice on it.
Well, Wuskin was very good, but on the other side, Chance, apathy once again takes over. It's becoming the apathy forest, at least in Search and Destroy. He was brilliant yet again.
Yeah, and the 1v2 you just saw him clutch up is actually probably the play that kind of won them the game because that gives him the streaks. And, of course, he let it ride, but the man finished on a 7th streak. So I think yesterday he goes, what, it was the 14-0 or 13-0, something insane. And he has a performance that's not quite as good, but still completely dominant. And again, that 1v2 is so huge because I don't know how he manages to sneak through and get under plat, but his teammate dies mid-map. He gets the kill on you, and then he turns quick enough that the player up above him, like, doesn't even get a shot on him. It's just the instantaneous reaction. Positioning is great after his gun skill was on point. I don't know. He had probably the best series for anyone overall for EG for me. Yeah. Again, he's clutch as well. He was like the anti-Scraps, I guess.
Yeah, he needed to be throughout that. But then with the CTF, Red Nard and Forest, we usually expect to spend 30 or 40 minutes there. As
didn't disappoint. Huh?
Yeah, we have so many overtimes, and another one that goes the distance.
Oh my god! At this point, it's got to be over 50% where we head to overtime on Ardennes.
It has to.
This one, I mean, it just felt like a tug of war. I think that's the best way to put it. Is both teams had moments where they clutched up. Obviously, there was openings for both teams to score, but in the end, it literally comes down to the last 2 minutes of possible time in the second OT. Where the game-winning capture comes through. But I just can't imagine what's going through the head of these players in such a long map. You need to be on point, keeping call-outs in check, knowing where the players are on the map at any given moment. It's got to be draining.
And Chance, what was it about this matchup? I mean, we know this can be played a little bit faster at times, but usually pretty slow. But I mean, you had more than half the players in single-digit kills, like halfway into the final round, it seemed.
Even like the first 45 seconds, there was not a single kill. Like just even the opening break was completely nutty from both of these teams. And yes, you certainly don't want to ever die. Like you want to get as many kills as possible. But the amount of like safety style that both of these teams kind of played with was pretty insane to watch. But, of course, once the map opens up just a little bit, the players will take full advantage. The run at the end EG had was obviously pretty close to incredible. And I think Ardent Forest has a lot of those CTF matches where, like, it'll be a stalemate for 5 or 6 minutes. But then when stuff finally gets going, it's crazy plays, stuns come out, clutch nades come in, the streaks get dropped. Like, everything just kind of happens all at once. But it can be fun to watch.
Well, it was the final cap that ended up being the difference, obviously, the victory for EG. That's going to be our play of the game presented by Scuff. We'll take a look at it one more time. EG gets it done in the final moments. It's another overtime, but it's them making a big play.
And think of this from Unilad's perspective. They look at the maps that they lost in this series, and you've got yourself this heartbreaking, Hardpoint loss here at the very end. You have yourself a lead in the S&D in Game 2, in which you basically let one player beat you in Apathy, and then the Game 5, Round 11, it's going to burn for Unilad for a bit, this loss, but at the same time, I think there's some positives to take from it. And, right now, it definitely stings. And looking back on this, it probably doesn't help us. Again, it's Apathy 32-17 at that point, continuing to just put EG on his back, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how Scraps has made an MVP case. I think you put Apathy in that conversation as well. Timp was incredible today. For Envy, there's been a lot of standout performances here, but that'll do it for your play of the game presented by Scuff Gaming. It was a clutch in the CTF, and there's the stats from App. 33 kills, 1.94 KD. Wuskin, nice performance as well. Him and Scraps both, combined to be solid throughout the series. But this is where Envy started to take control of it. Right after the big win in Game 1 from Unilad, it's back-to-back maps then that go to EG. But we know Unilad won the first Hardpoint. The question was, can they do it again and push this to a Game 5? And guys, they end up doing just that.
It was pretty similar, too, in how it all played on out. This Unilad team, they just kind of get Hardpoint right now, and it's fun to watch. I think the key thing for me is when all four of them contribute. They do know what works for them, what they need to do in the game mode. But we've seen at times where maybe Moose can have a poor performance. Shawnee can fall off. And if they do have that happen, then that's when you see Unilad really begin to fall. But even here, you look at the stats, you have monster games from Straps. Obviously, maybe Shawnee and Moose aren't putting up statistically the greatest numbers, but they're right there. They're hanging in close.
Certainly.
They're helping get the kills they need. And again, Unilad just over time slowly bleed out their opponent and win the map.
41 from Scraps in that. What was so impressive about him, Chance, on that map?
Well, one, he just was barely losing gunfights, and if he was, it was only because he was one shot. Like, he played as if it was like a jetpack or advanced movement Call of Duty, where he is flying around, just no fear of anything, doesn't care. And he puts up a monster performance, so, like, he did great. But, like, the Statue Hill, they outscored EG 84-11. That just shouldn't happen. You shouldn't ever allow a team to even get 84 seconds at all, let alone barely getting any time yourself. I think EG definitely needs to go back over their Doc's gameplay. I think there's a lot of time they could have gotten. They just kind of gave up, trying to favor the spawns a little bit too much and got punished for it time and time again. But for as close as the slaying game kind of was, like, the game should have been closer. It should not have been a 100-point difference, because Straps, like, yes, he played well, but it wasn't like the rest of his team was slaying as much as them. But either way, bygones be bygones, because map 5 was a little bit different.
We go into map 5. Scraps obviously having some confidence after that performance in map 4, and man, he put on a clinic, at least in the early rounds. He ends up dropping 15 in this one, ends up hitting some clutch snipes. It's a Game 5 that goes the distance, but EG do just enough there, Jack.
And Ace talks about just how important this win was for them.
Yeah.
And what it means for the standings, what it means for the week ahead and the weeks ahead. Unilad, I think they do wind up going up 5-4, right? And it's EG who has to force the round 11. And again, they've got to be kicking themselves for that one. You saw them attack all sorts of different areas on the map. Bottom middle was obviously a focus as well. At times we thought they were going to go for an all-out assault in round 11. They don't, and I think the thing that comes into play is that game clock. We saw a couple rounds where their hand was kind of forced, and it was awkward because of just how long it took to get the ball rolling again here. They need to plant. There's literally 12 seconds on the clock. It's just not enough.
I think they had a couple of 3v2s down the stretch.
Sorry, this was a defuse round. Sorry, but either way.
Close out the game. Yeah, that one,
It was that they took too long to retake.
Yes,
that's what it was.
Yeah, you thought they had that round, and one prior where I thought they were going to close it out, Chance, but they just weren't able to do it. It ends up costing them. You saw the pain on the face of the Unilad members. Wuskin head in his hands. Moose looked defeated. That was a painful one.
Yeah, especially for some of the clutches that they had to like pull off to even force that round 11. Like, you got to think Moose, when he is like literally dolphin diving and then somehow getting the kill with an FG on enable from close range. But they have those rounds. They have, I think it was Scraps and Luskins, or maybe Scraps and Shawnee, where they clutch it 2v3 and Scraps is hitting 2 pretty nutty shots. Like, they did a lot of work to try and force that round 11. Overall, though, I think EG was just the more well-prepared team. I think their strategies were a little bit better. I think EG probably one of the most well-prepared teams we have from both divisions, really. I know Red Reserve is definitely in that conversation, but it's very tough to evaluate. But some of the opening strats they had, it's like, we're going to aggressively plant the bomb over by B. We're going to throw a smoke down for App at the in. We're going to throw a smoke for App to get out, because we know they double snipe. We know they play passively in their spawn. So EG taking full advantage of the information that they had at their disposal. It was just, you know, the clutches forced it all the way to the round 11, but EG did come out on top. Congratulations to them.